In this video, I'm talking about some different benefits that are available for veterans in the United States military. What's up, friends? Welcome to an all-new video. In this one, we're going to be talking about some of the benefits that are available to military veterans. Most of them after you get out of the military, but some of them you can take advantage of while you're still in the military. Well, a couple of them, maybe two of them. This isn't really like a top 5. There are 5 things I'm going to list off. There's more benefits than just these 5, so be aware of that. Don't think that I'm leaving certain ones out. I'm not going to do an entire list on every single benefit that is available. Just these 5 really common ones that probably most people know about or would like to know about, and that kind of thing. So before we get started, make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. Make sure you enable notifications so you can join that notification platoon and get notified as soon as new videos go live, as well as my live streams. All right, so let's get started and let's talk about the very first one that I've got on this list, not particular order, but let's check out the first one, which is VA healthcare. This is a very broad subject. There's a lot of things that are involved with the VA healthcare system, positives, negatives. It just kind of depends on who you talk to. A lot of times, a lot of negative news you probably hear with the VA, especially with like the healthcare system, but this is a benefit that is available for veterans in the military. What this really is a healthcare system. It's not health insurance, but a veteran can register for this healthcare and get basically free healthcare for the most part through a VA hospital if they have one near them or they can easily get to one. So I am someone who is enrolled in the VA healthcare system. I rarely use it, but I do have this available to me where if I feel sick or I've torn a muscle or gotten injured in some way, I can make an appointment with the VA healthcare system to see a doctor at that VA clinic here in Colorado Springs. So it's very helpful having like a VA hospital somewhere nearby that you can get to, preferably in the city that you live in if that is available, because it'll make it very easy to get to that. So this healthcare is free for me. So if I go to see a doctor for something, it's going to be free, even if it's service connected or not service connected. Just different kind of things kind of apply. There might be some cases where if it's not service connected, I might have to pay some kind of a small copay for some prescription medicine or something like that. So there is a lot of kind of information to go along with this that I'm not going to cover, but just kind of give you a general idea of how it simply works. But this does mean that I have to go to a VA healthcare clinic. There are cases where I can go to like an emergency room and then within like 24, 48 hours contact the VA and tell them that, hey, I had to go to the emergency room for this, and they say that in some cases they might cover that and in some cases they might not. As far as what they do cover and don't cover, I really don't know that information. So having this VA healthcare just helps out soldiers in certain ways, maybe saving them from having to pay a large copay from their insurance company to go see a doctor or wherever the case is, and they can simply see a VA doctor to try to get treated for an injury or an illness. But there are some horror stories that some people might have with like this VA healthcare system of having a hard time getting appointments, and some appointments being several months out. And they have this other program called the VA Choice, where if it is more than 30 days out, then you can see a civilian doctor, but sometimes that's still pretty backed up as well. There's still complications with a lot of the system, but for the most part, in my experience, I haven't used a whole lot, so I don't have a whole lot of room for errors to happen. But for some of those individuals that use it quite often, they probably have seen a lot of errors in the system. It's not perfect, but I guess it beats for me paying for health insurance. So from there, let's move to the second thing that I've got on my list, which is the Montgomery GI Bill or the post 9/11 GI Bill. So the GI Bill allows soldiers to get an education. They can technically even transfer this over to a family member if they've served more than 10 years in the military, or they can use it for themselves and receive some education from a community college or a college or some other type of trade school, and they can use these benefits to pay for that. There is 2 different ones, and when you join the military, you kind of choose which one it is you want to go with, either the Montgomery GI Bill or the post 9/11 GI Bill. Montgomery just kind of allows it to where they're going to pay you, and you have to use that money to pay the school. And if you kind of work it properly, you can use that money to help you live, and then get grants to pay for the school, and then maybe have to use some of that money that the GI Bill, the Montgomery GI Bill, paid you for that schooling to subsidize some of your books or your living. And also the nice thing I liked about the Montgomery GI Bill, which is the one I used, is once I exhausted all of it, I could switch over to the post 9/11 for an additional year. But then the post 9/11 one is kind of a similar kind of format, but that one will pay directly to the school for your education and then pay you a different like housing allowance based on your area you're living in. But either way, just kind of has different ways of funding your education to be able to use this to either go to a trade school, community college, or regular college, whatever the case might be. There's also an additional program that I kind of can tie into this known as the VOC Rehab, but VOC Rehab has some different qualifications than just a normal soldier that is getting out of the military or even airmen, because I guess all these benefits really apply to any branch of the military. But voc rehab specifically will require at least usually about 30% of disability rating or above to qualify for voc rehab, and maybe not everybody qualifies for that. So the education benefits are great. Another program that I used as well, got an associate's degree in television and radio. Next up on the list, number 3 that I've got is the VA loan. Now, it's not specifically a loan from the VA. It's not the VA giving you money. It's just kind of like backed by the VA. So you would go through like a lot of different banks. You could go through your bank if they do VA loans, then it's really just kind of insured by the VA is kind of the way to look at it. But there's a lot of other benefits that come along with being able to do a VA loan compared to just someone getting a regular, mortgage or a loan from their bank for a house. One of the big ones is a lot of banks, normally on the civilian side will require like a 20, 30, whatever percentage of a down payment towards the house before you can get approved for this loan. With the VA, that's not the case. You don't have to have any kind of down payment. You can if you want to make, your payments maybe lower or get approved for a higher balance, but it is not a requirement to have to put down a down payment. Another great benefit is there's a lot of fees that get waived. Because you're a veteran with a VA loan, those fees get waived and you don't have to pay them where you would have to pay them with a standard mortgage or a standard loan from a bank. Some of those fees are just simply because you're a veteran, and some of those require you to have at least some sort of disability rating from the VA to be able to waive those fees. This is also another one that I have taken advantage of personally to get a VA loan, so I didn't have to pay a lot of the upfront fees or any kind of down payment when I purchased my home. There is a cap. I believe the cap is $500,000, so you can't go over that. You can have multiple VA loans. You can use your VA loan more than once. There's some different kind of ways around how you have to do it though. Like when you purchase the home, you have to live in it for like 2 years, I believe is the minimum, before you can sell it, before you can move on to another home or whatever. But if you want to say buy a house, you've been living in it for a while, you pay that balance down, and now you want to buy a new home and then maybe rent out the current home that you had, you can do that because you can use your VA loan again. You just have to be aware of that limitation as far as the maximum amount that you can have. So maybe you've paid off, that house down to $100,000, for example. That means you have $400,000 available for another VA loan that you could potentially take out to, apply towards getting another house. You just have to be aware of that limitation, though. You can't go buying up a bunch of houses to rent them out and all that kind of craziness. You have to live in the house for 2 years before you can move on to another one or whatever. So you do have that limitation. So let's move on to the next one, which is the VA disability compensation. This one is a process you go through when you get out of the Army. They're gonna have you turn your medical records to the VA. They're gonna look through those medical records and determine what type of service-connected injuries you may have that could affect you in your civilian life after the military. So everybody usually goes through this. You can choose not to, but I always recommend that you do go through this process. Let them examine, your medical records, do some of the physicals to see if there's something that is service-connected that you could possibly receive some kind of compensation for. So they go through those medical records, that physical and everything, and then they may determine that you have a specific rating, 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever the case is, all the way up to 100%. And that equals out to a specific compensation that you would receive monthly from the United States military. So the government is then paying you in this, direct deposit check of a specific amount based on your rating, that percentage that you get, and you get that every month on the first of the month. Now that disability compensation is something you get for the rest of your life. It can change if it's something like a temporary disability rating that has to get reevaluated or whatever, or if you were to resubmit to say that, hey, you have something that's maybe rated as a 0 and it's bugging you now a little bit more than it used to, and you want to try to evaluate that for a higher rating, then you can do so as well, and that may increase your compensation that you receive. Other things like having a child or getting married also increases that compensation for a little bit until that child at least moves up to the age of 18, but then it goes back to that original amount of prior to having children. So there are some different things that kind of go into factor how much you would receive as a monthly compensation based on your rating, if you're married, if you have children, and other factors as well. And that amount that you could receive per month could be something like a low 100, 200 bucks, all the way up to somewhere in the 3,000s. Also to note, this is tax-free. Your disability compensation is not taxed. So let's move on to the fifth and last one that I have that might be pretty low priority for a lot of people. I know it is for me, but that is discounts. It's kind of a crazy one to list, but there are a lot of great advantages that soldiers can, take advantage of to get some great discounts on, merchandise or just different benefits that are available for them through different organizations. There's like your normal, certain places have like a military discount, Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever you have to register for. And, those may not be, the big priority on your list of things to receive for benefits as a veteran, but it does help out sometimes, especially like Lowe's. Maybe you're doing a home project or whatever, and it's nice to get maybe a little little bit of percentage off of that total price that you're having to pay for all these renovations that you're doing in your home or something. But kind of going beyond, I guess, just your little discounts you might get at different stores, there's some different organizations that offer some great little discounts by being a veteran, and there's two that I'll kind of mention that I like the best. One of those being VetTix. VetTix is an organization that allows individuals that were, prior military, even currently in the military, to a lot of times get either free tickets or really cheap tickets to like concerts, events, and all that kind of stuff. I've used this organization. I've gone to see an MMA fight that was locally in the area for free. I paid there's like a handling fee of it's like $9, $13, something really cheap. You have to pay the handling fee, but the ticket itself was free. And I got to see an MMA event. I went to a Korn concert. I know another friend of mine who's gone to like a lot of like Broncos games in the area, or they've gone to other concerts that they've gotten those tickets for free and just simply had to pay that little handling kind of fee. That is one of the things that VetTix does. They also have more things that they do as well, kind of on a bigger scale, to like make wishes basically happen for wounded warriors, to be able to go on a vacation that they want to go on, or whatever, certain other aspects of that. So there's pretty high scale stuff that they do, as well as just, simply scoring some great deals on tickets or free tickets to a concert or something. Another one that I like is GovX. That's another website that is available for active duty or veterans, where you can get discounts on merchandise or hotels, or maybe even like Spartan races or other like kind of, mud races like they do like that, where you can get discounts on those tickets. So I like that one. I haven't used that one quite as much really, but they do have a lot of good discounts, especially like on things like they have Under Armour gear for fairly cheap, some good discounts on that. Grunt Style has some discounts on there where you can get some Grunt Style t-shirts. And a few other things that they have, like discounted items, like I said, hotels and other events as well. So those are just 5 benefits that I kind of came up with that are very common ones a lot of veterans like to take advantage of, to be able to utilize after they get out of the military, some of them while they're still in the military, because you can use like the VA loan while you're in the military, but some people, don't necessarily want to take that risk of getting, coming up on orders to get sent somewhere else. Now they have to do something with their house, but it is still an option that someone could use a VA loan while still in the military. They can use some of those discounts. They can use certain other aspects of that, but some of those are only available till after you get out of the military. I mentioned them earlier, but I got this Grunt Style shirt on right now. They did not sponsor this video or sponsor me, but they did hook me up with some shirts to be able to utilize for my videos. And if you like this particular shirt, I'll leave a link down in the description to the specific area of their website where you can purchase this sucker. So if any of you out there possibly have some questions about some military benefits, leave some comments down below. Leave me your questions, and I'll try to answer what I can. For some of you viewers out there that are veterans and take advantage of some of these benefits, I'd like to hear from some of you down in the comments down below, so that maybe some of the other viewers can, check out those comment sections and hear what other veterans are saying about these different benefits. I'm sure probably gonna get, some different ones of negatively talking about the VA healthcare, which is a problem right now, but trying to make it all negative. try to maybe bring up some of the positives of some of the stuff as well. All right, hopefully you enjoyed that video. If so, hit that thumbs up. Check out some links down in the description for social media, Patreon, P.O. Box, all that fun stuff. Recommended videos. I'm ThatChrisChaos. Thanks for watching. See you next time. See ya.